beautiful assistant here, Adrian, who's going to be our Dalek, and who is indeed one of the Dalek operators in Power. So, first of all, let's show how it comes apart. Like a pancake, the top comes off there, and then you have the neck ring there, and then this whole bit is solid. He's got a padded seat in there. I'd just like to say I don't have a padded seat in my BBC Dalek. You've got padded and sort of fuzzy fur.
These Daleks are much better than the BBC.
Right, so this bit comes off, okay? That doesn't happen on the TV one either. Right, so in there, it's basically hollow, completely hollow like that. Would anyone like to come up and have a little look at what the inside of a Dalek looks like? Come on. That's what it's like. And you've got a wheel at the front. Okay. So that's pretty much what a Dalek will look like in pieces, and then obviously you have to add the operator. So let's get Adrian inside the Dalek. Someone holding it helpfully for him.
This is like in the old series, this is how it would be. But the new series, that middle section doesn't actually come off the BBC Daleks, so they always have to have a chair there for Barney to climb up on.
Yes, and with the new Matt Smith Daleks, they're about another 6 or 7 inches higher, so again you have to have step ladders to get into those. This doesn't happen either, but I rather like this cage idea. I think you know.
This is so that the middle section can go round, which again the BBC Daleks don't do. When that happens, they do it in post-production with CGI.
Are you going to be nicking this for the BBC ones then?
Pardon?
Are you going to be nicking this for the BBC ones then?
I didn't bring my car. He asked if I was going to nick it for the BBC one. Features what?
Okay,
that's
so
right,
these
but
things,
not these.
These things just basically go through. This doesn't happen. It's all CG on the thing. They go through and under your arms usually when you're operating it. So normally we would have a dry run with without putting the head on. So we would do the various moves. Should we jump through that? Yep. Can we have some obstacles? Put your hand up if you want to be an obstacle. Okay, let's have you two as obstacles, and let's have you two on the end as well. Okay.
Got the fez, yes.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I suggest that you're the doctor then. Okay, so let's place the doctor here, on this little brown patch here. Okay, now, the Dalek has got to make a journey to get to the doctor. So first of all, I suggest we have you two here. He's got to go round. I think you should bring you in a second. So you've got to go round these two on your journey to the Dalek here. How are you falling and dying and being exterminated? Come on, come over here. Okay, so I think you're like a unit soldier and you're protecting the doctor. You stand here. So let's have Adrian go round these two. Come round here, you'll see the cornering and how brilliant it is. We're going to be exterminate this. What's your name? Okay, John's going to be exterminated, like that, and then you're going to go up to the doctor and you're going to get your sucker up to him, okay? Yeah. Right. So first of all, we would rehearse this with me just doing it like this, but you've already got the image of that. So let's bring in Adrian doing it without the top on, so you can see where you are, because you can't, when you're in there, you can't see down. Very good. So around the obstacles. Nice tight cornering there, worthy of the top gear. Exterminate John. Okay. And straight into the Very good. Now let's keep our obstacles, because we're going to put Adrian back here and we're going to put the top on, because it's a lot trickier when you can't see. So this is your standard neck. Do you want is this one go at the back? The tongue go at the back? Yes. Fine. This is the standard neck ring. This is quite heavy. This, incidentally, is stuff that goes at the side of swimming pools. These things, you know, when you the water goes at the side of a swimming pool. That's what this is. Okay, and you'll also notice that some of this has been blacked out with silk and things like that. That's so that when they're shooting through you, they can't see your head against a light background. It also means you can hardly see anything. Right. Yeah.
Also, when Barney's inside, he wears a black stocking thing over his head. So just in case any light does fall on his face, his skin tone is reflected back. So
it's a very glamorous look.
you can see, you can sort of pick up his flesh tones in there. I can anyway.
And so then we put the head on. Now we have two types of heads on the TV series. We have a couple of animatronic heads, good obstacles by the way, stay where you are, that's good. We have a couple of animatronic heads which are radio controlled by another person, and then the rest of them are all manual ones. Now this manual one, you presumably have to stick your hand up, do you, Adrian,
yes,
in order to get this? Normally not normally, sometimes they have a sort of pole coming down, and when you pull the pole, the eye stalk goes up like that, and you can sort of move the pole from side to side. But this one looks like a more sophisticated one. I'm definitely going to speak to Stephen Moffat about these. Right, okay. So this goes on a central spindle at the top of this in order to be able to turn round. Now just imagine, in Asylum of the Daleks there are 15 Dalek operators. This is a long process of getting everyone in. No?
Notice how I'm helping.
This also happens.
Yeah. I'm over there rehearsing to myself.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
That's it. Yay!
Hey. Okay, so now for the TV Daleks, this entire area from round here all the way to around there is blocked out. So really, a Dalek operator can only see through those bits there. But you've got slightly more vision on the sides here, have you?
Yes.
Slightly more vision in this one. Okay, so same maneuver, round these two excellent obstacles here, kill the unit guard, go and threaten the doctor.
Locate the doctor. I must locate the doctor. Two small human beings in the way. I will destroy this unit, soldier. Exterminate! Doctor! Sucker.
Excellent, very good. Okay, now, should we add the voice to
Well,
that?
let's add the voice. Now, presumably there's no transmitter to, because what happens is that my voice activates the lights on the Dalek. So, as I speak, it flashes. You probably heard that when we first did it, they every time they got the transmitter anywhere near my ring modulator thing, which is over there, which does the voice, it made the frequency go bizarre. I'll tell you what, I'll use the microphone. Hello. Yeah, so this is just my voice normally coming through it. Previously, the transmitter made the Dalek effect is like this, but the transmitter made it sound. And they were all saying, "Oh, that sounds fine." And I was having a panic attack. So, which is why you may remember from the Doctor Who Confidential from Dalek, the first one we did, that I was doing a lot of pointing. Do you remember that, any of you? Yeah. And that was because I devised, while I was in the loo actually, that's totally incidental, I was just thinking while I was having a wee. I devised this system whereby I thought, well, why don't we get someone with the transmitter to the Dalek, pushing the trigger, to stand about where Barney is. So, and which was, and we got the person to go further and further away, and I was sort of saying, a bit further, that's it, it's getting better, yeah, that's it, yeah, I think we're okay now. And so as I was doing the Dalek lines, I was going, "You will be exterminated. Can you imagine? I had to do that for 2 weeks solid. My arm really hurts by the end of it." I feel so stupid complaining about having a stiff arm after doing the voice of the Daleks. But when I came back, lo and behold, the next time they sorted out a system whereby there was a feed from the mixer and on a wire went all the way to a transmitter, which just transmitted the signal to the Dalek, and my voice activated the lights. Just recently, in Asylum of the Daleks, by the by, they finally worked out a way to have that transmitter right next to this without it going peculiar. And so I was able to govern by switches which Dalek lights were flashing when I was speaking, you know, so I had different switches for all the Daleks. But there was one sequence right at the end, which we did right at the end of the day as well, in that huge set, the Parliament of the Daleks, where I literally just didn't have enough hands. And luckily Andrew Beach, who'd supplied a lot of the Daleks to the BBC, happened to be there, and I said, do you want to take part in this? And so he did, and I got him to look at the script and we worked out which Daleks were talking at what time, and he did all the switching for me. But because of all this switching and stuff I was doing, at one point, one of the technical guys, Phil, what's his name?
Dave.
Phil Davis, yeah, who does all the resupplying of broken sonic screwdrivers and stuff. He handed me a real screwdriver and said, he said, Nick, could you just fix that light up there, because you seem to be doing everything else here. Right now, who wants to have a go at doing a Dalek voice?
Hey.
Come to me, you two first. I'll just arrange this microphone.
Examine.
That's what you sound like without the remodulation. Okay, now with it, have a go.
Exterminate.
That's very scary. Brilliant. Thank you. Right, anyone else?
Let's have our two obstacles.
Okay. There you go.
You're gonna make a good Dalek.
Thank you. Isn't she your Tamago? We can wait all day.
Exterminate.
Hey! Someone put them back.
Someone.
Yes.
In red.
In red.
Oh, and friend as well, I'm sure.
Ready. Okay, be really angry.
Alert for Doctor has been detected.
A bit worried about hurting her teeth. Straight into the mic. Anyway, so...
Should we do this
Yeah,
sequence with
yeah.
your voice?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
I must locate the Doctor. Locate the Doctor. 2 small obstacles. Move past them. They cannot hurt me. I will destroy this unit, soldier. Exterminate! There is the Doctor. Doctor, you are a sucker. I thank you.
Now, when we do these at live events, we often do this thing where Nick is concealed but can see everyone at a sort of the Radio Times Awards or the BAFTAs or something like that. You're concealed, but you can see everyone. And I'm in here for about 10 minutes before anyone comes in. I just sort of stay there. And then about 10 minutes after people have got used to there just being a static Dalek there, as soon as someone comes past, you start launching in. It's a good job to terrify.
It's a good job. I remember when we were first doing it at BAFTA, I think it was, after the first episode or the first series, and I was doing that thing, and we were surprising people, and someone said to me, one of the organisers said, "This is it, your career's made. You could do this for the rest of your life." I did have a moment of panic.
So, should we thank our excellent volunteers? These two obstacles, thank you very much. Unit Soldier and the Doctor. Okay, so how much longer have we got? Right. Who wants to be Dalek Assault Squadron? So we need about 5 extra Dalek bodies. Okay, you haven't done anything, so you can come down from there. That's great. Blue right at the back, you can come down. Fantastic, absolutely, you can come down. Yes, of course, you can come down as well. Sophie, and we need one more. One that's reluctant. Yes, you can come down as well. You've been volunteered. Okay. So what you're going to do is we're going to be rehearsing with how it works as being a Dalek. So I will be in the lead, so we're going to do Dalek formation. So I need 2 of you to flank me at either side. So let's have you 2 do about the right side. So you there and you there. Now you need to stay level. Okay, we'll have 1 in the middle. That'll be you, Sophie. And we'll have 2 filling in these gaps here. That's okay. So you go there and there. Okay. So remember, you need to have your arms out because you're Daleks. Okay. So one of them is the old sucker. I tend to do it like that. I tend to do that with a gun. Okay. So I'm going to move, and you need to match my pace. Okay, so we don't all go too fast. So this is how we would rehearse it. So we're all going to get. We need a doctor. Who wants to be a doctor? Yes, come on. You can be the doctor there. Okay, so we're going to be coming towards you. So you stand pretty much next to Sean there, about in the middle. So we've all got to keep the same pace, keep your heads level, eyeballing him. So as we're moving, ready?
Forward!
Okay. Keep your heads level, all keeping pace. Right? Okay, very good. And we're ready to stop about here.
Halt!
Excellent. Okay, now, can you 2 break off and go round and sort of go to the sides of him? I'll stay here. Very good. You 2 move in to there. Okay. Now, that's good. Now what I want you to do is I'm going to move away and then you can go up and get him, okay? So I'll back off like this. And then you go in. Very good.
Doctor, you are surrounded.
Apart from at the back.
We have to leave an escape route, otherwise the series will get cancelled.
So that's how we would rehearse it with a big group of them. And obviously in Asylum of the Daleks, we've got 15 operators there, and there are about 10,000 Daleks. So what we would do now, for example, if we'd shot it from this way, and he's just there, the Doctor's surrounded, and we imagine the camera, as it was then, is over the Doctor's shoulder. So it looks like a whole load of Daleks have come. So what they'll then do is they'll then swap the camera around and then move it on the face of the Doctor. So we'll all have to be the same Daleks, but we'll have to come from this side. The Doctor will still be facing forward. So you come with me, guys, all we're Daleks. Come around here. Fantastic. That's good. And then they will shoot it from the other direction. So this is whenever we talked about Dalek operators, and they always say, which Dalek were you? I'm almost always 2 Daleks in the same shot, because I will then have moved here, and there won't be any Daleks from that side. So we'll then approach from this side, exactly the same formation, guys, and you're going to do your fanning out and everything. Okay, so Sean, let's just have a bit of room, that's good. Okay, so we're coming from this way, and advancing. So I stop here.
Advance!
You 2
Halt!
on the side. Very good. You 2 move into the gaps, and then Ash is going to come in and do the final slaughtering. And in. Perfect.
Doctor, you are surrounded. Again. But in a different shot this time.
So when they have the whole thing, the whole sequence you put together, they will have this thing where it goes into here and it cuts to this other side and you think, my goodness, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 12 Daleks or something, and of course there are only 6 Dalek operators. Thank you very much to our Dalek operators. Thank you very much to our Daleks.
The thing is that on Asylum of the Daleks, when you've probably seen the trailers, where Daleks all around in the Parliament of the Daleks, also in a situation like that, if there was meant to be thousands of them surrounding him, behind him they would have these huge green screens, and they're quite portable, aren't they? They keep moving them around, and that allows them in post-production to superimpose all the others. So on the set of Doctor Who, certainly with Daleks, green screens are quite...
yes.
Yeah,
they're quite a feature.
Yes.
Now, of course, we have done the thing that always happens on Doctor Who, which is we have left the Dalek operator in the dark far longer than we should have done. Okay, so let's get Adrian out here now. Right, so again, the top comes off, usually after lunch. And then the neck ring will come off. I'll grab it from the bit here. Fabulous. Again, trying not to decapitate. When you always tell a new runner or an assistant on Doctor Who, because they take that neck ring off and they slide it. And then for this one, we take the outside bit off first, do we? Okay.
I'm helping.
In fairness to Nick, he does help. He's very good at that.
Well, I certainly, I'll tell you what I do is I've seen far too many times of Nick and Barney coming out of the Daleks with having lost their sense of humour. So I do occasionally go up to one of the third assistants and say, is there time for them to come out now, do you think? And they go, oh yeah.
But it's a tribute to the design and indeed to the operator inside that people sort of think of it as a Dalek the moment you get in and put it all together. And they forget. Thank you. Big round of applause for Adrian. And they forget that it's got a human inside it. And it does need someone inside it. I don't think it could be done on remote control because it just needs those little touches. You saw as Adrian was going around, he's just flicking the eye stalk between, and he was reacting to what Nick says on set. I mean, my entire body is conditioned to react to whatever Nick says. I just feel like I need to move every time he speaks. And whenever there's a very rare moments when there's no light or something you can't read. There was one on Dalek where you made a mistake and you said a swear word, and we did the lights and we did the movement and everything for a swear word before we sort of realised that it wasn't actually what it was. We're all conditioned like Pavlov's dogs to react to it. So we got any questions about Dalek operating and doing the voice and everything?
Yes, okay.
No, you don't have to give us a Dalek
You
swear.
know when you row, those things you put the oars in? Yeah, sounds a bit like that. So it wasn't too bad.
But it was good 2 syllables. I could do a judder on it.
Yeah, and the guy did do the lights for it. Yeah.
Yes.
If they're so cumbersome getting the rings on and putting them all on, can't they design them so they just snap open?
They could design them so they snapped open. That's a very good point. They don't, sadly, and we've had to spend ages to do it like that. I don't know. I mean, you would think that they would be able to just...
There must be a simpler way of getting them out.
Yes, there must be a simple way, but sadly...
I mean, the difference between... I mean, obviously all the people who work on Doctor Who do love it as well. But always the difference between doing something for love and doing it to a deadline on a budget is completely different. I mean, you know, I remember... doing shows in a here we go. Hold on, life belts will be distributed. Doing a show in a theatre in Devon where you know, we were doing it as weekly rep and we were doing it quickly and there was very little money, and the locals would come along who were used to seeing amateur shows in that theatre, and they were appalled at our sets because of course they would spend all year building their sets and getting it to absolute perfection, whereas, you know, sometimes, you know what I mean, it's an irony really, and I always think when I see beautiful Daleks like this that are really better and more practical than the BBC ones, you know, that's because people who love it and people who've got really the time to devote to it and think about it have had the time to develop something really neat. And, you know, perhaps, you know, one day there should be a little workshop between the people who've built them for love and the people who built them for the TV series to get together. But it's always the people making Doctor Who are making so many other episodes at the same time. So when they... I know, but always, again, our friend Colin Newman, who's responsible for building the Daleks for the show, always, he'll tell you it's a last-minute thing. So, you know, it's a budgetary... But yeah, I think you should work for the BBC.
Yeah, we'll get you a job later. Yes.
Would you swap job roles?
I wouldn't do his job.
I couldn't do his job. Well, no, I mean, very occasionally, there are things where you have to move around when I'm not there, and there are bits where in a rehearsal I might have to, if Nick's filming second unit or I'm filming second unit, I might have to do the voice. But no, it wouldn't work. Nick's voice is so distinctive with what it is, and I just don't think you couldn't do that voice inside a Dalek either.
No, I mean, I couldn't be in there. I'm a little bit claustrophobic anyway. And I did get inside one once when we did Totally Doctor Who. And
yeah.
And I
you got out quite quickly.
Yes. I mean, it really is like being inside a heavy wardrobe and just trying to shunt it around a bit. And it's just to do that all day. And I know there, certainly on the last Chris Eccleston one, there was a day, wasn't there, where, how long were you in there for?
5.5 hours.
I mean, 5.5 hours. I couldn't do that. I would complain. No, I would complain a hell of a lot.
Right. Any other questions?
There's no we in there.
Yes.
If there was one refinement that you could take from the sort of fan-built Daleks and put it into production ones, what would it be?
If there was one refinement that I could take from the fan-built Daleks into the production ones, it would be minibar. No, they're all good. I think just being able to get out of it myself would be the thing.
This is quite nice, isn't it? The fact that it strips down to there.
Yes.
So you could step out without. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not drunk when I get out. That's why the minibar comes in handy.
It's all non-alcoholic cocktails.
Yes. What in terms of this sort of layer cake construction thing? No, because they're designed on, having 2 legs and things like that. So they normally are just like big suits of armour with people inside them. So I don't think in the old series there were things like the mechanoids, which were quite sort of robot-y like that. But I think in the new series, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe Android was the only other one that had a fixed base thing.
Oh dear, that looked very painful to
That
get
was,
into,
yeah.
You do all of the voices of the Daleks in the new series and a whole heap of other monsters. Is that just purely budgetary, or would you prefer not to work with other voice actors doing Daleks?
He's a nightmare to work with. He won't work with anyone else.
The question is about, did you hear the question? About there being, there were originally lots of Dalek voice people. Why do I do it all on my own? Of course, you do get a thrill. It's quite one of the most fun questions I get asked these days when people say, are you the voice of all the Daleks? And I'm quite proud to say, yes, I am. And of course, the only reason I can do all the Dalek voices is because I'm such a Doctor Who nerd. I know about all the different brilliant actors who did the Dalek voices in the original series, and I can sort of, do little stabs at being a bit like them. I quite like being the only one who does it, and I can but guess that it helps them on the budget side, because they're always, they say that Caro Skinner was saying the other day that, we do have possibly some of the best budgets on TV, but to make a show like Doctor Who, it's still incredibly tight, really, when they're really being asked to make 45-minute feature films every week. Certainly this season, it's very much like that. It's huge, each story. So I'm sure it helps. And I remember when for the first time with a new agent, I did a story with Daleks, Cybermen, and Jadoon in, the Pandorica one. And my agent said, so that's like a fee for each one. I said, no way, that's not going to happen. He did ask, but
I got a lot of people saying, you must be getting a lot for Asylum of the Daleks, because there are a load of Daleks in it. Just the days that we're there, that's what we get paid for.
Get paid for turning up. Yes, one here.
Have you ever had some fun with a Dalek voice and done regional accents? And would you divulge? Would you do it now?
A regional accented Dalek.
Oh, impressions.
We did German.
I did German, yeah. I did, not on set, it's a dull answer, but everything's so...
Is this not a set now?
Yeah, I'll do it now.
Yep, go on. Can you say text message?
Text message. Hey, oh, look out. Here comes the Doctor. Okay, the news. No, we are the Daleks.
Is the best.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was very off-brand. I could be facing the sack now.
Record it, put it on YouTube. Yes, what was your question?
What's your favourite voice out of all the voices that Daleks do?
What's my favourite voice? The Daleks are my favourite. We were doing, I don't know whether you saw the One show last night. Yesterday I was filming all day just to do that small bit of nonsense where I was doing railway station announcements as a Dalek. telling people the train was going to Spyridon and Iridius and Exelon. I was having fun, you know. Nobody knew what I was talking about. But, you know, I was very much aware, sitting next to someone, Alex Riley, the presenter, who I know from Radio 4 Extra, actually, he was observing me to see, you know, he'd never seen me in that context. And he said, you really do, he said, God, you really vent all your frustration, don't you, when you play the Daleks? And it's quite, I do like extreme stuff in acting. I mean, I love playing Sherlock Holmes. I'm just about to do a tour of that, which is coming to Portsmouth. You know, because he's a very direct character, and I like that single-mindedness. And I mean, I think the Jadoon is quite fun. It's just playing back his report.
Sorry. Can I play your body in Sherlock Holmes?
Yeah.
Right.
People do say that when we go to the bar in the hotels. Does he order the drink and you pick them up? Or what? Hello.
How long does it take to build a Dalek?
Well, Adrian might be the best person to ask about that. How long does it take to build a Dalek?
I must confess, I don't actually build them.
Yeah.
I know the people who do, and it can take anywhere from 3 months up to a year, depending how long you actually spend doing it.
Yeah, it's on each individual section.
Each individual bit, yes.
Because you could just, one morning, you could just go like this.
Yeah, and that would take you a year.
Yeah.
But I think most builds usually take somewhere in the region of about 3 to 4 months if you're doing it most evenings and at the weekend.
There you are. Right, yes.
Inside of this, lots of the old Daleks, you see, how different were they storerooms?
Much lighter. We had small, medium and large, that's how we did the Daleks. The small ones were sort of 60s ones, and the medium were medium were pretty much small right up until the Chris Eccleston series. So the bronze ones were sort of medium, and the large ones were the Victory Daleks ones. And I did all of them, but the Hartnell ones they were very, very light. You could be really nippy with them, but they are 50 years old, and they were quite flimsy inside. So you had to, although you could be nippy, you had to physically hold them together as you were moving them, lest they sort of crumble to dust. The big Victory of the Dalek ones are very heavy. They're about 15 stone, then you add your body weight to it. So you've got to move that whole thing around, and then if they put you on a hill, you're finished.
And just so you know, although I don't know whether they'll be able to tell from the episode, funnily enough, the Victory of the Daleks have been adjusted slightly.
Yes.
I think they've listened to what people have said, and they
had
don't
an effect.
Yeah, they don't have the big bum anymore. You know, they've actually gone to the trouble of slicing that off and reconstructing them. They've also painted them slightly differently, they have painted the white one slightly differently, haven't they? It's a more metallic paint.
They've gone for BMW car paints, which makes them look more solid rather than sort of big day glow things.
Yeah, and there's some you might have seen in the trailer. There's some sort of burgundy ones, yeah, and a nice blue one as well. They don't do too much, but they're there.
We've got red right in the corner over here.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you do the Dalek voices every day?
Of my life. Do I do the Dalek voices every day? Do I sort of wake up in the morning and go, morning, darling, exterminate?
Yes.
Only in my head. I'm very close to listening to Dalek voices every day, particularly at the moment because I'm listening to the post-production coming through for a Big Finish audio called Dark Eyes, which is the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann, being chased by billions of Daleks. So I hear some of that virtually every day, have done for the last couple of months. So.
Yeah.
Yes, they made me exterminate. Yeah,
You've had your hand up for ages. What was your question, sir?
My question is for Nick, and it's about...
I'll go away.
It's about the choice of ring modulator.
Yes.
I've seen you on Confidential, and it looks today like you've got a Mugafuga, which is a sort of modern ring modulator, top of the range, things like expensive. Obviously isn't what was around in the 60s.
It's very similar. The actual way it works is...
I understand that. Really, I was just curious as to whether you had to do the research and find what was out there, or did some technical guy just come along and say, use this, and this is how you set it?
Well, I'd been doing the Dalek voices for quite some time for Big Finish, for the audio plays, since about the year 2000. And we had used various digital, the rest of you can go to sleep, we're just having a nice conversation. We'd used various digital forms of ring modulator before, and at one point we used the ring modulation section of a particular old synthesizer I can't remember the name of, I think it was Kevin. And then at some point, do you know, and I can't remember how, I stumbled upon the Mooga Fooga. I read about it in, you know, one of those Sound on Sound, that magazine. I read about it in that, and they said this is a proper analog, old-fashioned ring modulator, and yes, you can do Daleks, it said. And so I just went straight out and bought one. And suddenly, and we thought the Dalek voices we'd done on Big Finish sounded great technically, up until the point I put my voice through the Mooga Fooga. And it was just like, you know, for a saddo like me, it's like a whole new world. I thought, now that's it. That's what I've been striving to get for so long. So, you know, when it came around to the TV series, I already had that. And that's one of the reasons I got the job, because I'd written an article about it in Doctor Who magazine, and there was no radiophonic workshop. So Russell T Davies thought, well, this guy can not only do the voice, he's got the thing that does it, you know. And we don't know anything about it. I mean, still now, no one at the BBC has ever bought one of those, you know. I've now got 3 of them, because it suddenly occurred to me after a couple of series, what if it breaks? So I always take a spare one with me in case, because, and then shortly after I bought the second one, by the by, it did break.
And when he goes to lunch, he just does that with the controls, so no one at the BBC can tell what it's set on.
Yeah. What they used to do on Doctor Who, I got this out of Dick Mills, because I kept, like an annoying fan that I am, I questioned him on stage at a convention around about the time of Remembrance of the Daleks, when that had just been on. And I said, well, why do the Daleks sound slightly different in every story? You know, and he was going, well, and eventually he went, oh, because we don't write a setting down and we just make it up every time we do it. And, you know, in the old Doctor Who, you know, especially in the William Hartnell ones, you'll see from episode to episode that the ring modulators set up quite the Dalek Master Plan in particular, you know, sometimes there's hardly any ring modulation, and then the next episode it's really, and I can only think there was a different sound technician in that day, and just went, no, I like that sounds better to me, you know. So I flatter myself that I've established a particular setting, so we've had the longest consistent period of Dalek voices. But even then, you know, when you're on set and the sound engineer rigs it up differently, I could get into really boring details, but it has sounded slightly different depending on how much you drive the microphone input into it and all that. I've found a way around it though now. I bought my own mixer which I attached to it, so it's absolutely set in stone now.
Eventually he'll just bring his whole studio with him. Yes?
I've got several questions for you, if I could ask them all.
Well, far away one we might swap. Yeah.
Under 5.
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
what's your favourite lines about the Dalek?
You would make a good Dalek.
Yeah, that's a quick answer, that's good. Yes?
Another question,
Yes.
again for you, Mr. Briggs. Of all the Doctor Who monsters you face,
Yeah.
voice,
Voiced, yeah.
what's your favourite line be of them?
Oh, well,
So,
A
non-Dalek
one.
A non-Dalek.
probably Kung Fu Mobile.
It has no effect on his voice for Jadoon at all. That's the...
People kept saying, does that hurt? Like, yes. Of course. It's my stupid decision to do it. Yeah, I'd leave that one with me, but possibly doing... I did like it, actually, you know, when... who was the woman who kept saying what her name was?
Penelope Wilton.
Yeah.
Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones. And, you know, when she said, Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister, and the Dalek said, we know who you are. And destroyed her. I quite like that.
Final question.
Okay. Final question for both of us.
I know you've appeared on Torchwood during Children of Earth.
Yes.
If both of you could put an appearance in Doctor Who in person, would you be a villain or one more character?
What sort of character?
I'd be an assistant, you get employed longer.
Yeah. Something I could tell you about that, but I can't say until after tonight's episode.
Yeah.
I'd like to be the Master.
I'd like to be the Brigadier.
first then? Because I know who he was.
No, he wasn't in.
I'm not in Children.
Oh, okay.
He
Well,
was,
I'm
he was
in the
moving
corner of
my-
every scene.
He was moving my chair.
I move Nick's arms. They're not his real arms. He's just standing there like that, and I stick them through and move them. Any more questions on this side?
That explains that scene last
One more question, and that's going to come from the small person with the red top on there. Yes, you. How do you make? You mean how do you physically make them, or how do you create the character of a monster? Well, most of the monsters are coming back from old series of Doctor Who, so they will have a sort of established what they were like in the old series, so we know how a Dalek moves and we know how a Cyberman moves and things. But in terms of as a guy who's inside one of the monsters, you feed entirely off the voice. So what Nick does is he creates the character there, and then it's our job to actually sort of bring that to life. And I think one of the things that makes the Daleks so unusual is that they don't just have one person doing the whole thing. I think because it's a sort of gestalt entity, it has a number of different people operating it and creating it. I think it gives that slightly alien quality to it.
And I do take cues from your movement as well. Quite often when I'm doing it, sometimes it helps me to do sort of those sort of small jerky movements.
We will eventually just be in an old people's home doing this the whole time. We're on stage again later, so thank you very much. We're in for autographs and receivers later.